Hi again, Mark here from Talkingbass. So most of you fingerpicking bass players out there probably play predominantly with two fingers, but today I'm going to talk a little about three finger picking and some of the benefits it can provide even if you only use the technique sparingly. As always, the lesson material can be found over at the Talkingbass website, so just click on that link in the info below, and also remember to like the vid, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell. Okay, so what's the deal with three finger picking? Well, when most of us start out finger picking, we generally start out with one or two fingers. One finger is usually good enough for a lot of simple bass lines. But then, as you start to play quicker lines, you're going to want to bring that second finger into play. So even a simple pedal bass line like this is going to be a lot easier playing with two fingers. Then if you want to try something a little bit more intricate like this, that's going to be almost impossible with just one finger. So it makes perfect sense that because we have 5 fingers, we bring some more fingers into play. Three finger picking is the next most popular method of picking, and there are a bunch of players that make use of 3 fingers as a way of generating more speed, especially in rock and metal bands. So we're talking players like Myung, Alex Webster, and obviously Billy Sheehan. But there are also players from other styles making use of 3 fingers like Steve Bailey. Now, one thing worth mentioning here is that you don't necessarily need to play with 3 fingers to generate that kind of speed. Some of the most technically proficient players on the planet play with 2 fingers. Hadrian Farrow is an obvious example. So, personally, I stick to 2 finger playing most of the time, but I do use 3 fingers to help with certain lines, and today I'm going to show you a few basic exercises to get you started. Maybe you'll decide to use 3 finger picking as your default style, or maybe you'll just use it every now and then. It's all down to you. Okay, first up, let's look at the technique itself. Now, different players use different orderings of the fingers, but the most common by far is ring, middle, index. So we're playing in the order 3, 2, 1. We're going to use basic rest stroke, just as with 2 fingers, bringing each note or finger into rest at the thumb or next string. So with standard rest stroke there with 2 fingers, we're bringing those fingers into the thumb. With 3 fingers, so there I'm just playing the A, 5th fret of the E string. 3, 2, 1. Ring, middle, index. And then if I move over onto the A string, I might play a D there at the 5th fret. So I've got the thumb there on the E string, and those fingers are coming back into the thumb but resting on the string. So that's the basics of the technique. Very straightforward. Same technique as with 2 fingers, but just incorporating that ring finger. So now let's try a simple bassline exercise for practicing that motion. We're going to play sextuplets, which is 6 notes per beat, which you can also describe as 16th note triplets. We're going to play 2 bars of E at the 7th fret of the A string, and then we're going to play 2 bars of D at the 5th fret, so dead straightforward. So very slowly we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back. So start out slowly, focusing on good technique and consistent rhythm, and then just gradually build up speed until you can get up to a higher speed like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next, let's move around a little more by using that same 16th note triplet rhythm, but moving around a C minor scale on the D and G strings. So the notes for the line are going to be So we just come up through a C minor scale, C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, then down G to F. So that's 10th fret, 12th fret, 13th fret on the D string, then up, same frets again, 10th, 12th, 13th on the G string. then back, 12th fret and 10th fret for the G and the F. And then we have coming down in thirds from the G. So G down to the E flat. So that's 12th fret G string down to the 13th fret on the D string. Then we have the F and the D, so 10th fret G string, 12th fret on the D string. Then we've got E flat to the C, 13th fret D string to the 10th fret on the D string. Then we finally have D down to the B, 12th fret D string down to 9th fret D string, which gives us a harmonic minor scale there. So we have then, and we're back where we started, so you can just play it round and round. So that's the notes. Now we just need to add the triplets in there. So all we're going to do is just add 3 plucks to each of the notes. So okay. So again, you just want to start out slowly with this and just build it up until you can get it up to a faster speed. So both of those exercises made use of consistent 6 or 3 note groupings, which obviously work well with that 3-finger cycling. Those 3 fingers are also suited to the good old Steve Harris Gallop, which is an 8th note and then 2 16th notes, which sounds like this. So to begin with, just take a D at the 5th fret of the A string, and we're going to play. So this is just the 8th note, 2 16th notes and back. So we're going to start with a pluck on the first finger, and then we're going to play it 3, 2, 1. So the start of each rhythm is, that first finger. Just cycle it round. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we were to play a simple bass line through D, C, A and C, we might have something like this. So in terms of the notes, dead straightforward, D, C, A, C, bar on each, so 5th fret, 3rd fret A string, 5th fret on the E string, then back up to the 3rd fret of the A string. So now the only thing that you'll probably find tricky here is the shifting from the A string down to the E string and back. So on the C there, when you come down onto the A, you're going to be coming down on that first finger, so you'll need to focus on that because you can get a little finger twisted there. So you've got 3, 2, 1. Okay, so it's going to be, ring finger, middle finger on the C there, and then the index finger as we come down onto the A, and then it's the same as we come back up. So we're going to be coming up on the first finger onto the C, which is a little bit tricky because the index finger is the smaller finger, so you've got to kind of move the hand a little bit in coming back. And as you can probably tell, with this kind of technique, it makes all of those kind of galloping metal rhythms a lot easier. So instead of trying to play with, with 2 fingers, which is what Steve Harris does, you can just play with 3 fingers and just keep playing to your heart's content without having any of those stamina problems. Now, each of those previous exercises have been made up of 3-note groupings, but what if we want to play groups of 4, like straight 8th or 16th notes? Well, the key to doing this is to focus on playing unaccented notes. This is the same principle as playing groups of 3 with 2 fingers. If you can practice playing without accents, just playing in time to the correct 8th note rhythm, then you can add accents as and when required. So let's just try playing straight 8th notes on the E 7th fret of the A string. And we're going to count along 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So try to aim for unaccented notes. We don't want to be playing accented 3s because it'll start messing with the feel. So we're going to have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now Now, if you're just letting your fingers alternate there, you may be able to feel that switching of the lead finger as you move to the next downbeat. And that's something that a lot of people like Billy Sheehan, or most of the people that play with 3 fingers like this, will talk about a lot. The fact that when you move through them, you'll have third finger, second finger, then first finger. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and it switches every time. But by playing unaccented and just letting those fingers do what they do, you can then start adding the accents as you go. And it's, like I say, it's the same thing as playing with 2 fingers. Just get used to alternating, and then if you want to play groups of 3, 1. You do that by just counting. You don't necessarily have to think about which finger is going to be the accenting finger. You just put them in there. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Same with 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So let's try a simple bass line moving between 2 notes there, E and D, 7th fret and 5th fret on the A string. So we're going to play straight 8th notes, 2 bars each. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So as you play through that bass line, you will feel the switching of the lead finger as you hit each downbeat. So if we start on the third finger, work through slowly, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So there I'm hitting with the first finger. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then when we reach the D, we're hitting with the second finger. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then when we come all the way back to this E, we're on the first finger. So it's switching all the time because you're playing 3s into groups of 4. Now, like I said, if you can focus on just playing unaccented to begin with, just letting those, lead finger switches happen by themselves, you'll then be able to just place those accents in as and when required. So if I'm playing through it again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, I don't have to think first finger, I'm just putting the accent in there. So that's how to get started with some simple 8th note or 16th note lines. And like I said, I personally use 2 fingers for anything that requires those binary rhythms. But if you want to start making use of 3 fingers as your default technique, then you're going to have to spend quite a bit of time focusing on that aspect of playing. Finally, let's have a look at how we might play more linear scalar lines with 1 note per finger. So there's no note repetition here. So for the first line, we're simply going to work up through the first 4 notes of a C minor scale using a triplet rhythm, which sounds like this. That's it. C, D, E flat, F. 10th, 12th, 13th frets on the D string, and then 10th fret on the G string. So we're just playing with the fingers there. 3rd, 2nd, 1st, and then I'm going to hit that F there up at the 10th fret with the 2nd finger. So we're finishing up on that 2nd finger. So the trickiest part about this is going to be the coordination between the 2 hands. So you want to take this really, really slowly and always ensure that both hands are, in sync. So we want, if you get messy at any point, just slow right down. To whatever pace you need to go to play slow, to play synchronized. And then you can just move it around up and down the neck chromatically. So it's a pretty mindless exercise there, but it's good for getting the coordination between the hands. Then if you want to move across strings a little more, you can just add another string into the mix. So we could try this with an E minor scale. So we're going to be working up E, F sharp, G, then A, B, C, and finally up to the D. So this is going to be 7th fret, 9th fret, 10th fret on the A string, and then the D string, and then finishing on the 7th fret of the G string. So we're going to be working up. So 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 2 in terms of the finger picking. So just like the previous exercise, start out really slow, focusing on the coordination, and then just slowly build up speed. So those are just some simple exercises for working on 3-finger picking. Give me a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell. Then check out the lesson material over at the Talkingbass website by clicking on the link in the info below. Talkingbass is the place to be for all of you studying bass players out there, with courses on everything from beginner bass through to reading music, chord tones, scales, technique, ear training, slap bass and much, much more. There's also a thriving bass community there in the forums and groups, and the basic membership is totally free. So join up and I'll see you next week.